Attention Destiny gamers.
Hi, how are you?
How many raids have you done? 1 raid? 100 raids? No raids? For me, raids are the most fun thing about Destiny. And sadly, not all you whippersnappers have had a chance to do one. Heck, I was like 1,000 hours deep into this game before I did my first raid. Those were dark, lonely times. Don't make me go back. My hope with this and subsequent videos is to help guide your little gamer brains to acquire what I believe is the most important thing in doing any raid.
Knowledge.
And why am I doing this, you ask, for raids that are 5, 6 years old? I don't know. Because it'd be fun? The first raid I decided to make a guide for is, you guessed it, Crota's End. More like Crota's rear end, am I right? It is a reprised raid, meaning that it was in Destiny 1, but Bungie updated it, put it in Destiny 2, and fed it to us content-ravenous, hungry creatures that we are. The first encounter takes place at the opening of the Hellmouth, and if the name doesn't convince you that this place is pretty spooky, just go ask Eris Morn. She went down there with 5 of her friends, where all but her ended up dying, and now look at her. And look at her now. You poor, sweet summer child. Anywho, the first encounter is quite a simple one, and it introduces you to the main mechanic that you will be doing throughout the entirety of the raid. Behold, the Chalice of Light. First, you gotta grab the Chalice of Light and stand on this plate. Standing on the plate will build a bridge for you. While standing on the plate, some Thrall and Knights will spawn, and like everything else in this game, will try to murder you. The person holding the chalice will notice this meter begin to fill up. Killing enemies fills up the chalice, and the person holding the chalice, if they are the one to kill the enemy, it fills up even faster. Once your chalice is full, something like this might play out.
Gary! There's a bomb strapped to my chest! It's gonna explode in 3 seconds unless you take a bath! Please?
As was so eloquently stated, if the chalice is not taken from you within 10 seconds of it filling up, you will die. The chalice will drop on the ground, spilling all of that precious light that you filled it up with. Whomever takes the chalice will now have that same meter start to fill up. Whoever had the chalice taken from them will now be enlightened. What you do with the enlightened buff is you dunk it on that middle plate, and that makes the bridge form even quicker. After dunking the enlightened buff, you'll notice this debuff on your HUD. It is called Drained of Light, and that means you cannot pick up the chalice while you have that debuff. This is Bungie's way of making it so just 2 guardians can't keep juggling it back and forth. It gets the whole team involved, you know? But that's pretty much the first encounter. Just keep passing the chalice around to teammates who don't have Drained of Light, dunking your enlightened buff into the plate, and soon that bridge will form before your very eyes. Before you go in, take note of these 3 sets of statues. These statues indicate a very simple puzzle you need to complete in order to have a guaranteed red border weapon drop at the end of the raid. These statues are here, here, and here, and you need to read them in this order. So just take note of which statue is glowing. In my example that I forgot to record in the beginning, it's left, left, right. So I just put LLR in the chat, and that helps me not forget later on what statues I need to activate. With that information jotted down, you can now descend into the Hellmouth. Welcome to the Stills, or as I like to call it, the Oregon Trail. And like any good adventurer, you'll need a good map, and you'll need good gear. Loadout wise, just bring anything that's good for ad clear, but make sure you do have something for unstoppable ogres at the end of this encounter. And warlocks, wear Vesper of Radius. Your team will love you for it. In this encounter, you have to get from this point to this point, but there's a few things thrown in your way to make this trek rather treacherous. You need to follow this long winding path, which is dotted with pitfalls, lanterns, and something not shown on this map, pendulums. To start this encounter, someone, maybe you little go-getter, needs to pick up the chalice and then as a team move to the first lantern. The chalice functions exactly how it did in the first counter. Fill it up, pass it on, become enlightened. This time, with your enlightened buff, you're actually going to dunk it into the lantern. And doing so will do two things. Firstly, it'll extend your engulfed in darkness timer. Secondly, while standing next to the lantern, it'll remove your weight of darkness debuff. Having 10 stacks of weight of darkness will make you move at a snail's pace, so yay for making this go bye-bye. But you can't stay next to the lantern for too long, because if you do, you'll go every so often. Lanterns will have these little fellas next to them. I call them baskets. Sometimes they're kind of hard to spot, so look for the little lights that are glowing on them. Whenever you see one of these, that means the next lantern is taking a power nap and you gotta wake it up by preserving the chalice in that basket. If you don't do this, you will not be able to enlighten the next set of lanterns, making it so you cannot progress throughout the encounter. Preferably, when you get to a preserve point, the chalice will be full, someone will take the chalice from them, and then they will dunk it in the preserve spot, and then someone else comes and picks it up, and while all that is happening, the lantern should have been enlightened, and then you can move on. And that is pretty much the entire encounter until the very end. It seems very simple, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong with people falling in pits. You got to go back and revive them. You can't move as quickly. It can be a little bit crazy. So have good communication. Maybe make an order and who's going to take the chalice next, and you should be set. When you do get to the end, you'll see another plate you need to stand on. And then here, you're going to do the exact same thing you did in the first encounter. Pass the chalice, dunk the enlightened buff, soon a bridge will form. While you're doing this, a bunch more enemies are going to spawn, some unstoppable ogres, so be prepared for them. And then once your bridge is formed, you can cross. And you did it! You beat Oregon Trail. You are now like unto a god to all elementary school children. Now just a few tips and tricks for this encounter. You can skip lanterns that don't have a preserve next to them. That'll just make moving and navigating around lanterns a little bit more scary since you can't move as quickly. You can bring an eager edge sword, but that can also be a bit dicey. Sometimes your sword will track to an enemy that's to your right or left that you don't see, and you'll crank a 90 so hard that you'll fall into a pitfall. My go-to movement option for this encounter is the We Have Eager Edge at Home, the Geodetic Hism. Its origin trait, Nadir Focus, is like a budget eager edge. I think it's a little bit safer, but just as effective. All in all, take it slow, take it easy, no need to rush it. Also, there is a secret chest in this encounter. If we go back to our trusty map, you'll see that there's a couple of stars which indicate doors with lights over them dotted throughout the encounter. Now the chest can be in any one of these doors, so if you're feeling spicy, you can check each door as you go through. But once you do find it, make sure everyone is able to get there and open it around the same time, because if you don't and someone gets there late, they miss out on the loot. An easier but just a little bit longer way of getting this chest is after you've built the bridge and killed all the enemies that spawn, you can go and look for the chest in all those doors. You won't have weight of darkness and no enemies will be around, and you can explore the area a bit and see what you just climbed up. But after all that, you can now run to that light at the end of the tunnel and see what lies in store.
Hello there.
Welcome to the Oversoul Throne, or as most people call it, the Bridge Encounter. For this encounter, loadout-wise, you just want to bring more ad clear stuff, bring something for barrier knights, and maybe have something with blinding grenades and stasis to freeze stuff really easily. But before we do anything, you are going to stand right where you are and bring to mind those statues that we had to find in the very beginning. So standing from that position, the orientation of this room is left and right. My callouts for the statues were left, left, right. So from here, you'll head this way and go find the statue that's tucked away in a corner. When you activate the correct statue, you'll get this message displayed. And if you do the wrong one, you'll get this one. Now that we've taken care of our statue, let's learn a thing or two about building a bridge. The goal of this encounter is to get everyone from this side of the room to that side of the room. To do so, you will stand on this middle plate and build a bridge as you have done in the past two encounters. However, if you notice, there's a plate on either side of the middle plate with an annihilator totem floating above each of them. Now, these guys, they're particularly jealous. So jealous that if there was a jealousy emotion in the movie Inside Out, it would be them. While you are standing on the middle plate, they watch and they seethe. Ooh, it burns them up inside. So much so that if you don't stand on their plate, they will make your team go. To counteract these volatile douche canoes, just have one person stand on each of their plates and they will be satiated. That's a good little segue into roles for this encounter. The guys I raid with, we all collectively share maybe 5 brain cells between the 6 of us, so we like to make it as clear and concise and simple as possible for us. So the roles we assign for this encounter are the Chalice Runner, and then 1 person per Annihilator Totem, and then everyone else just kind of groups up on the middle plate. The Chalice Runner will be the first person to pick up the chalice. Everyone goes to the middle plate. Once he's full, someone takes it from him. He dunks the Enlightened buff. Your bridge should be built in about 2 or 3 rotations of that. Once it is built, you need to make sure that there is someone on the middle plate at all times, because if anybody jumps off, the bridge will start to deconstruct. Once the bridge is built, the Chalice Runner should have the chalice again with the rotations. If not, there is something I forgot to mention, I believe. With the chalice, if you take it from someone before the chalice is full, they won't get the Enlightened buff, but they also won't receive the Drained of Light debuff. So you can pass the chalice back and forth between 2 people, just no buffs or debuffs will appear on your screen. Alas, bridge is built. 5 people need to get enlightened. Chalice Runner takes it to those people. They get enlightened. They hold on to it. Don't do anything with it for now. Still have people on your plates. You'll be good. Once everyone gets enlightened, the Chalice Runner should instantly run across the bridge, and at the far end, right at the base of the stairs, there will be a basket to dunk the chalice, and they can start killing ads over there. While this is all going on, you will have ads spawning on the left and right side of the map, and also coming down the middle staircase like their bell, going to the ball with the beast. There will be barrier knights on either side spawning, so be prepared to deal with them. Once your bridge is built, a knight called a sword bearer will spawn. They're big, they're chunky, kind of spooky, but blinding grenades pretty much make them a non-issue. When these sword bearers are killed, they drop their sword on the ground for about 5 seconds, I believe. The only people that can pick up these swords are the people that have the Enlightened buff. If you are enlightened and a sword bearer spawns near you and he dies, go pick up that sword and then mosey on across that bridge. When you do, there's going to be a couple of ads, and there will also be a gatekeeper knight that spawns. You need to kill him with the sword and only the sword. Don't use abilities. Don't try to use anything else. Don't try to swap to a weapon, because if you do, it'll drop the sword and it will disappear and you have to somehow get back across, and it's a whole thing. But once you kill him, again, don't use abilities or drop it. You need to dunk that sword into its own basket. It's called preserving the sword. Once your gatekeeper is dead, your sword is dunked, you're going to stay on that side of the room and you're going to keep killing ads. Before you have 3 people on this side of the map, you need to make sure that you do not stand on the middle plate, or else the Annihilator totems will wipe your team because, again, they're jealous. When a gatekeeper knight dies, another sword bearer knight should spawn on the other side, and another guardian should come across with the sword and do the same thing. Once you have 3 people on the other side of the room, 1 person takes the middle plate, each other person takes an Annihilator totem. The people on the original side of the map get off of their plates. Do not touch them, especially the middle plate. Now the 3 people on the original side should group up, kill ads, kill sword bearers. One of them takes it and runs across. If you die with the Enlightened buff, you lose it. So what has to happen in that case is someone has to grab the chalice on the other side, bring it back across, and then get you enlightened, and then come back with the chalice again. The last person to grab a sword and come across the bridge is going to have a hell of a time, because there's lots of ads. It can get kind of hectic. Once that last person gets their sword keeper gone, comes across the bridge, kills their gatekeeper, and preserves their sword, everyone is now on that side of the room, and you should get off of your plates collectively. At this point, you just need to split up and kill ads for a cool minute. And just be mindful to not stand on the middle plate for too long, lest you anger the totems. We have died to this too many times, because people don't realize where they're standing. Now, once all the ads are dead, 5 more gatekeepers will spawn, and you can do this last part one of 2 ways, maybe both if you're feeling a little spicy. One way, probably the way Bungie intended it to be done, is you use the swords again to kill the gatekeepers. but you can't pick up those swords unless you are enlightened. So while all those ads are spawning, someone grabs a chalice and you pass it around to get enlightened. The other way that I think is easier and a bit more fun is all of you, once the gatekeepers spawn, jump up on the pillars that are close to the edge of the map. Gatekeepers will walk towards you but can't hurt you. At this point, use your blinding nades, use your stasis to freeze them, disorient them, and then you can literally just push them off the edge of the map. And you win.
But wait!
Before you move on, there is another statue you need to activate. Standing on that middle plate facing this door, this is left and this is right. There's a statue on either side. Mine was left for the second statue, so I went to the left and activated it. This next little bit is just like an ad dense mini encounter with a bunch of hive walls in your way. To get rid of those hive walls, you need to kill the Shrieker. To get to the Shrieker, you need to be enlightened. So one person picks up the chalice, gets enlightened as fast as they can. Someone takes it from them. They boogie through the wall, kill that Shrieker as fast as they can with a rocket or a burst super. That drops the wall and you move on to the next wall. Now you need to do this as fast as you can because there is a secret chest at the end, but the door is closing on it. And if you don't get to the end and dunk the chalice in this basket before the door shuts, it'll stay locked and it's lost and gone forever. If you get the chalice there in time, the door will open back up and everyone can reap the rewards. Rewards. I can say words.
Do you know about the heavies?
Welcome to the encounter of Iriut, the Death Singer. This is the first encounter with a boss DPS phase, so loadout wise, pretty well. Divinity is very helpful because Iriut has a small hitbox and she likes to Cupid shuffle around a ton, and having a bigger crit spot makes it much easier. For the most part, people use linear fusion rifles, machine guns for damage. The Titan on Actium War Rig with Thunderlord can always put up big numbers. And honestly, any God roll crafted linear fusion rifle you have will do just swimmingly. If possible, and what we like to do is the person that is running well also is the Divinity user, and they also have that helmet that looks like an aircraft carrier, which the name escapes me at the moment. But wearing this helmet and shooting the enemy with your Divinity will mark them, teammate kills them, drops heavy for them, and special for you. This was like quintessential on the day one contest mode raid mode. It's still very helpful here though. First things first, make rolls for everybody. You're going to need 3 wizard killers and 1 runner. Secondly, like every boss fight in raids, you have a limited amount of time to get to the damage phase, so move swiftly but safely. You'll enter the room and notice that Iriut is immune to all damage. How is this possible? She's got friends in the walls singing dark incantations. To make them stop singing, you need to kill them. To get to that point, though, you need your old buddy, the Chalice of Light. To get to the Chalice, you need to split in teams of 3, go left, go right, make your way up some stairs, killing ads and a bunch of big knights, and you'll eventually come to 2 hallways. In these hallways, there's more blistered knights, ads, and shriekers. To drop the walls, kill the shriekers. Once you've killed all the shriekers, relinquished your Chalice buddy from his hive wall prison, do as you've always done. Grab the chalice, pass it, get enlightened, but this time only 3 people need to get enlightened. While you are getting people enlightened, one person, the runner, is going to check 7 separate rooms for these wizards that you have to kill. There's 7 rooms, only 3 wizards. You need to have callouts, which callouts in the Destiny community can be a very heated topic. Looking at you, King's Fall. But what it really comes down to with callouts is personal preference, what you're comfortable with, or what the LFG leader, whoever, says you're going to use. For us, we do it as follows. Where you are standing right now is right above where you grab the chalice from, and you're looking out towards the boss arena. This is the left side of the room. This is the right. There are 2 rooms on either side of the left and right. This being left top. This is left bottom. This is right top, right bottom. Now the last 3 rooms are right behind you, so swap places with me just so you can see what I'm looking at. Now, this is spawn left, spawn middle, spawn right. These are your 7 rooms. Commit them to memory, because if you enter the wrong room, Makes life much harder for you. Also, take note, you can see the last set of statues that you need for that guaranteed red border. So from here, this is left statue, this is right statue. My last call out was right, so I activated this one. Typically, I like to get this statue when you go up to kill a wizard in one of these 3 rooms. I'm pretty sure you can activate the statue after killing Ir, but before killing Crota to get that guaranteed chest. I wouldn't know, because I've never done it before. I usually always just get the statue during the encounter. Anywho, back to the encounter. Now, how do we know which room each wizard is in, you ask with your stupid brain? That is a job for the runner. Of the 7 rooms, there will be 3 wizards and then 4 shriekers. A quick tip for the runner, as you're checking rooms, if you're next to a room or underneath a room, and you see a red dot with a white ring on your radar, that means there's a shrieker there. And if you look inside of the red dot, there should be an arrow pointing up or down. So if you're standing next to left tower and you see that icon with an arrow pointing up, that means left top has a shrieker in it. Do not go in there. 2 more tips for the runner. Running Wishender helps because you can use its 1 perk to kind of see through walls and see what may be in that room. Easiest way, I think, to check rooms is to go Void Hunter, running the aspect Stylish Executioner. This basically gives you Wishender on crack. You can see a little bit farther into the room and you can tell what's in the room. Once you know where all 3 wizards are, your 3 people that gained Enlighten will go to their rooms, get the wizards finishable, and finish them at the exact same time. While they're getting to that point, the last person with the chalice should take it back down to where you first came into the room, and there is a basket to dunk the chalice. Once all 3 wizards are finishable, communicate with each other, all perform a finisher at the same time, and then at this point, damage phase starts. Everyone groups up around this area, and you drop a well around this area, and you can start doing damage to your Ute. Now, if you don't one phaser, which is fine, don't worry. We don't always one phaser. You'll have to do another damage phase and do that whole process all over again. Find the wizards in each room, get people enlightened, finish them, do damage phase. Except this time, on the second damage phase, there's going to be 4 wizards instead of 3. And if somehow, after getting to your second damage phase, you don't kill her, and you have to do another damage phase, there will be 5 wizards you have to kill. So just make sure you do it in 2 phases so life isn't so hard. You have now made it to the final encounter of the raid. Crota and all his diamond head looking ass is ready to fight, and you're ready to kill. Loadouts, definitely bring a well, maybe even 2. Bring a tractor cannon to weaken Crota. And then typically the person with tractor can run a good fusion rifle for damage in between booping the guy. Everyone else bring Lament or Legend of Acarius. For specific roles, you need 1 person to take care of this big green bitch called the Oversoul, and then 3 sword bearers. Oh, and make sure whoever has tractor cannon isn't a sword bearer. Also, make a list of who's going to take the chalice next, just to ease any confusion. So first guy, and then so-and-so a second, then you're third, and then someone's fourth. To start this encounter, everyone needs to stand next to this crystal, aka touch the butt. Enemies will spawn in either hallway, so split up and remove them from existence. Outside, you'll see ye old chalice of light. Whoever is a sword bearer should go pick it up. Except there's an added measure in passing the chalice this time. You can't just pass it wherever you are. You have to be standing in one of these little glowing areas, and they can be in one of 5 places, either middle, left top or bottom, or right top and right bottom. Whoever is holding the chalice and whoever is going to take the chalice both need to be standing in that area to do so. Once you're enlightened, go kill the sword bearer, grab his sword. To make a sword bearer spawn, you need to kill 4 boomer knights, 2 in each tower. Once they are killed, a sword bearer will spawn in the middle with a bunch of ogres and wizards, and they just keep spawning, so kill them. Once the sword bearer is killed and his sword is picked up, 4 more boomer knights will spawn, and you need to kill them to make another sword bearer spawn. So you need to do that 3 times. While the chalice holder is looking for that little glowing spot, Crota is going to be walking around on his bridge trying to zap you, so hide out underneath the bridges in cover. Once you have 2 people and enlightened with swords, the third person to take the chalice should take it back to the entrance and dunk it in that basket. Meanwhile, everyone else should go and congregate around the bet. So you need to get 3 people enlightened. Only 2 of them will grab a sword from a sword bearer. The third person is in charge of the oversoul. Whoever takes the chalice from them is going to go and dunk it in the entrance to the room. Once you're all there, stay out of sight of Crota. He'll try to make his way towards you. The person with tractor cannon should run out, do a flyby tractor cannoning. Don't just run up to him because he'll probably one-shot you. Boop him. That'll weaken him. The 2 sword bearers should go up and start slapping him as much as they can to get rid of his shield. Once Crota's shield is gone, he'll take a knee and be damageable. So drop a well next to him. Everyone pull out your laments and start slapping away. Person with tractor cannon, boop him every so often, swapping to your fusion rifle and doing damage. As soon as Crota's shield is gone, though, you'll notice this timer pop up on your HUD. That is how much time you have to do damage to Crota. At the end of that timer, the Oversoul will go. That third person who gained the Enlightened buff but didn't pick up the sword, their job is to look at the Oversoul when there's about 3 seconds left and shoot it to break it. Fusion rifle is good for breaking the Oversoul. It typically takes like 2 shots to break it and you're fine. So whoever is in charge of the Oversoul, keep an eye on that timer. And that is pretty much it. If you don't one phase him, just do that whole process again. Get 3 people enlightened, dunk the chalice, get swords, boop, slap, go fight, win. Something I forgot to mention was Final Stand. Once you get Crota to that last chunk of his health, he'll become briefly immune. Then afterwards, you'll have 20 seconds to kill him. If you don't kill him in that time, you have to wipe and start over. And you've done it. Well done. Good job. The loot is yours. If you did all the statues correctly, a guaranteed red border weapon is yours. And make sure when you approach the sword, if you haven't already, there's a quest at the bottom. I can't remember what it's called right now. Pick that up. That'll start the quest to give you the Necrochasm auto rifle, the exotic from the raid. Thank you for watching for all those that did. Really appreciate you. If I could, I'd just give you a big ol' hug. Look forward to more videos for more raids coming out. Who knows when, but I'll make them. And yeah, love you. Bye.